Right, we're back on the 67 Hail Hail channel with me, Hamish Carton. We've got John McGinley and Jackie McNamara here as well. Now guys, earlier in the week we spoke about Celtic's revival. A lot of that's probably come from the front four that started the game on Sunday against Aberdeen. Jackie, you touched earlier in the week on the fact that we've changed formation and we've gone to 4-2-3-1 now. Just tell us a wee bit why you think that's been so beneficial and why it's brought about such a kind of resurgence in Celtic's performances and results.
I think flexibility. The players they're not stick to one position. Even see the goal, Christie's goal, which is a fantastic goal. Rogic comes round them and he comes back inside them. He comes inside and leaves there. And I think their movement, whereas the other one's sometimes a bit more predictable or to play against, would have a freedom there. They're not setting up a position. They've got a freedom to move around. El Nussi as well, he gets the goal. He's not put in the position that he started in. And I think it's very difficult to mark defensively. You're setting up your team and suddenly, that guy, he's not where he's supposed to be. He's away on the other side, which allows the fullbacks to then get forward. It takes the pressure off the fullbacks to then start delivering passes and great crosses into the box. The movement's so good and it leaves space for Edouard as well. Especially at the start of the season, a lot of teams were sitting in against us and it was becoming a little bit predictable and hard to get away from them. But you see just that little bit of movement from Rogic or Christie moving in off the side or El Nussi. And suddenly it's a real threat with real energy and pace in the team. It's helping defend.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Odsonne Edouard and the end of the transfer window about him not being happy. And I was always of the opinion that his unhappiness maybe came from the way we were playing and the fact we weren't actually involving him. It was nothing to do with him being tired of Celtic or tired of Neil Lennon. But he looks so much happier now, John, doesn't he, in this 4-2-3-1? The fact he can link with Rogic, he can link with El Nussi, he can link with Christie, and he's just a far kind of more useful player when he's happy.
Yeah, and Jackie's talking about the movement there, and I think that's spot on, but it also only works, I think, when you've got a player who can make the ball stick to his feet and have players running off him, and I think that's what Rogic gives you. Edouard does to an extent as well. Obviously, he can bring the ball into his feet too, but having both those players in the central area, Tom Rogic doesn't let go of the ball once it's passed into him. You can turn quick, or you can turn and take a man on. But then you have Christie running off him. You've got Edouard running in between defenders off Rogic as well. And Rogic looked hungry yesterday and willing to put himself into areas that we need him to be in. Like for El Nussi's goal, he runs across to the flank from Edouard's play, and El Nussi, as Jackie noted, is drifting onto the opposite side from where he started the match. So the movement's spectacular, and with someone who has the vision of Rogic, he's going to pick out his men more often than not. But yeah, and it does bring Edouard more into the game. He definitely looks. I didn't think he was sensational against Aberdeen, but he's still building his match fitness, and I think once he starts again, once the fire lights on him again, we could see a goal scoring run from him. Which is exciting.
Jackie, you can probably tell that John absolutely loves Rogic. He is Tom Rogic's number one fan. What's your kind of thoughts on Rogic? We'll start with just his overall career at Celtic. Have you been a fan of the way he's played over the last 7 or 8 years?
Yeah, I think he's sometimes for me a frustrating one because you see what his size and his physique and what he could be. You just sometimes you're waiting for him to do it, and when he does do it, it takes some stopping. He's a big, strong lad, great control, great balance, vision. As I say, when it goes into him, he can make things happen. He's got great strength, and especially in certain games when teams are backed in against you. He can put up to his feet and he can make something happen, and I think that's important. He's one that I've always thought there's more coming from him. There's more to come here, but he's an exceptional talent. There's no doubt about it. And I think last year maybe he wouldn't have liked the amount of games that he played, or lack of games. I think he's a lad that maybe needs to be playing week in, week out, and want to be loved and built. But again, in his position, you're kind of building your team around him because you're putting him in that little pocket or that free role, if you like, off the front. you know, if you're playing him in a three in midfield, it's maybe a bit more difficult to put him in that one, just, you know, a defensive side of him, more attacking side. But his creativity, you can't argue with his vision and his ability in that last third.
Yeah, I suppose the big headline here, John, is that he was nearly leaving us, wasn't he? Just a matter of weeks and months ago. I think 4 million was the price that was quoted, which seems, you know, absolutely nothing now. I'd certainly, when I did the video on the channel, was his greatest moments and basically waved him away. And I can't say, I mean, I was I wasn't quite emotional about it, but I was a wee bit kind of sad about seeing him go, because he'd been a great player for us. But equally, at the time, I wasn't gutted, because I was very much of the opinion that Tom Rogic was finished at Celtic, and I didn't think Lennon really liked him. I didn't think he'd get an opportunity under Lennon, and I didn't think he had the fitness capability to be able to play 40, 50 games a season, even if he only plays, you know, an hour as opposed to 90 minutes. But I suppose now we look at him and he could be like one of the key men in our 10 in a row season, which is pretty kind of strange to think where we were a couple of months ago.
I think Jackie hit the nail on the head. I think you either play Rogic and build a team around him, or you don't play him at all. You know, I think that he thrives in that responsibility, I think, sometimes. And, you know, I think he's just someone who's unpredictable in his attack as well, which makes opposition defences fear him. But to think that we're going to sell him, you know, at the time, looking at it pragmatically, I probably would have agreed with that, because what's he done for the last 2 years? If we're looking at it, you know, ruthlessly and thinking about cutting the squad and freeing up resources for Lennon to bring his own man in, but whatever happened behind the scenes there, it's worked out in our favour. I'm not really looking for. I don't know if he'll be going off to join the Australian squad in the next month's qualifiers. That's always been an issue for me, the way that he comes back kind of late in the week, and we don't see him for another 3 or 4 weeks after he plays for Australia. So there's issues here for Rogic that I don't want to come across as if he's the magic bullet that's going to win Celtic 10 in a row, but he just has the potential for me to be that match winner that we need. Jackie, what's, you know, as a manager, what goes... did that ever happen to you as a manager, where you had a player where you kind of thought, oh, he's maybe coming to the end of his time here, and then you manage to keep him and he becomes important for you? I wonder what will be going through Neil Lennon's head about Rogic at the moment.
Yeah, again, it's, as a manager, you're looking at it, they obviously work with them every day, and you're looking to see what they're going to, you know, with Rogic, if Forrest was fit, would they have put Christie in one? And Rogic had the same opportunities as what he's getting now with Forrest not being there. So little things like that can turn a player around and a season around. You know, an injury to somebody, an opportunity there, and he's taking it and thought, oh, all right, he's up for this. You know, he's producing just now. So, you know, had Neil had everybody fit, would he had the opportunity that he's getting? I don't know is the honest answer, but he's certainly taking it. And to be honest, there's Celtic players. We have a squad. I don't know how many players Neil have in the books now, but there's a lot of players there. You forget about some players. And you think, well, you know, it's rotating it. They're all waiting an opportunity. So we've got 4 strikers just now. Not 4 strikers can play. We're playing with one out-and-out striker, and Edouard at the weekend. But I believe the ones behind them are all forwards. They're all capable of scoring. I don't see us playing with one up front because of the movement is changing the shape of the team, as we've seen on Sunday. But Neil's job is to win and try and keep all the players happy and involved and give them opportunities with all the games that's coming up. But at the same time, they've got to keep him happy by producing their performances and winning the matches, most importantly.
You know, Lennon's relationship with Rogic is so interesting, because it was Lennon who brought Rogic to the club initially, and then sent him back to Australia on loan. And Rogic, in Lennon's first spell, never really looked like, you know, winning a regular place in the side back then. And it was only really under Rodgers for me and Dyer, the latter days of Dyer's reign, where Rogic kind of came into his own a bit. So it's a very interesting relationship the pair have got, and hopefully they can find whatever they need to have, you know, him in the team more often than not. Because, as I say, you know, I'm happy to spread Rogic propaganda.
Definitely. I was looking back at the early 2020 prior to lockdown and COVID and all that kind of stuff, and Rogic actually played more games than maybe we would have expected. He started the Copenhagen second leg at Parkhead, which I didn't realise. I don't even remember him playing that game. He obviously scored the late equaliser against Livingston in the game at Ammanvale, so he was appearing more. So maybe his kind of rise isn't as surprising as some people like to make out, Jackie.
Yeah, possibly. As I said, it's not as if they've just been floating around the background. He's contracted to the club. He's a player and he's in the squad. And probably like everybody else, just want to play every week and not wanting to rotate. Some players don't. They want to play every game, every minute of every game. But as we've seen there, it's finding his position. When Neil changed the shape to 3-5-2 after January, it doesn't suit Tom in that position. Getting forward, he likes the ball played through him, and it wasn't happening. It was more coming wide and getting crosses into the box for the two strikers. So it's this shape and the system definitely suits him. Especially there, he's floating around. He's got a kind of free role. He can come over to the left or the right, or go in behind as we've seen when he sets up the second goal.
Hey John, do I have permission to move on from Rogic? Can we talk about another attacker?
Yeah, I'll let you live that one down, Hamish. Yeah.
Who do you want to talk about then, Jackie? I'll give you a choice. You can have Ryan Christie or Mohamed El Yunusi. Who's kind of stood out most for you over the last couple of games?
It's a tough one. The two of them's done well. El Yunusi, I think he's getting a great bit of confidence with his finish midweek. It was a fantastic goal he scored. His movement, he gets his second goal yesterday, which I think was an important goal. That for me, that kind of killed the game. The game was finished at 2-0. You just couldn't see Aberdeen coming back. Christie's finish, he has the odd shot, Ryan. Sometimes it goes different areas, but he's definitely. I like his energy. I like his desire and work rate for the team. He puts a real shift in every game that he plays. And as I said, I thought his finish yesterday was phenomenal. His technique, just getting the ball around it, and it's good. It's good to have the kind of guys in your team that are starting to produce now. It's an important time. They're starting to score different kind of goals. A spectacular goal, but Christie's popped up with a few important ones over the last wee while. So hopefully, as I said, it's kind of just bubbling along now, and it's going to kick into gear and week in, week out.
It was a very kind of Tom Rogic-like goal, wasn't it? The way he curled it into the corner. It was quite like Rogic's at Ibrox. Remember that one? When he cut in and curled it in.
Forrest has had a few cutting in as well over the last couple of years, so it's maybe something to work on. If you've got the time and space to shoot and you've got the ability, then I don't see why not. As Jackie said there, he was kind of saying that Christie's had a few attempts, but he must have tried about 200 this season. So it was good to see one of them finally going in. And as you alluded to as well, I thought he was very impressive defensively on Sunday as well. I think that's sometimes an underrated part of his game. It brings good balance to the team because El Yunusi doesn't really provide that. So it's good. It's just good to see. I think we've got all sorts of different options now, and that's the big thing. I thought the El Yunusi goal was just really well worked, a really good team goal, and Christie's was something special. And as Jackie says, having the different types of goals to score is only a benefit.
Yeah, there was the one prior with Edouard as well when he had the double chance. It was a great move between, I think, three members of the front four. In terms of Ryan Christie, John, do you think we're kind of rewriting history a wee bit? Because remember, if you go back, to December time when Lennon kept playing Christie on the right hand side, I think it was when he was trying to rest Forrest from game to game, and it was mainly, eye rolling from the Celtic support whenever that happened. Whereas now we look at it and it's, the greatest thing ever. I mean, is Christie a genuine option on the right hand side going forward, or will his role always be in the centre for you?
No, I think he can do it. It's a learning process though, isn't it? He might not just been used to it as much last season, and he's had time to learn the position. And he was actually pretty good until he got injured last season. It was when he was coming back from the injury in the Rangers game that he just didn't look the Ryan Christie of old. And he's been getting stick at the start of this season as well, which I think was perhaps a little bit overblown. And I think that he's very versatile, and what he's going to give, he's just going to give you effort all the time. I'm not saying it's his best position on the right-hand side, but it's certainly viable at the moment, especially with Forrest out. Well, what about El Yunusi, Jackie? Do you think that if he plays in the team, he has to be played on the left-hand side now? You know, Lennon's experimented with him, playing him as a second striker or a central attacking midfielder. Do you think that the left-hand side is his best position and he has to stay there?
Yeah, I think in the shape, I think he's one of the guys that's better running on to the ball, facing the opposition goal. And although they're on the starting position, same with Christian on the right-hand side, they're not playing as wingers, which I like. As I said, they're forwards, they go and create. So, if Elnussi gets it, he comes inside, and you've got Laxalt coming on his outside, and likewise other side. Chrissy's driving inside with it, and you'll have Frimpong coming down there. He can reverse it to him, or he can have a shot at goal or link up with the strikers. And they have that freedom, and I think that's important. It's the one part of the team where they're flexible, and they can have that movement. They can use their intuition is the most important thing. They're playing things and how they see things that they do every day in training, whereas the disciplined ones are the ones sitting back in front of the back four. And I think I like that shape. I like the movement. As I said, people will point to one striker, but I see them as strikers. He'll go in. Elnussi has a freedom. He'll just dart in the other side ahead of Edouard, and Christie likewise. They've got that license to do that. When it breaks down, they just come back in, tuck in the little positions, and play from there.
It's frightening, isn't it, looking at the four of them? I mean, if you're any other Scottish Premiership defender, you're not wanting to come up against Celtic anytime soon, because the four of them, they're all intelligent footballers. It's just weird, because if you go back a couple of months and you were asked for your best team, I certainly wouldn't be picking Christie wide right, Tom Rogic. I don't even know if El Yunusi would be in it on the left. So it's interesting, but it's all positive, guys. Great stuff. Good to have you on. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you've not done it yet. We'll speak to you later on in the week.